Okay, Tesla Model Y. It is 36 and the weather is rapidly going to shit, which is kind of exactly what I wanted today.
Hey everybody, I'm Keith. This is Charged Up. I'm in the Columbia River Gorge right now. It is cold as hell, snowing, and I've got a Tesla Model Y. And I've got feelings about this. I love driving. That's why I do this. Every EV I review, I'm looking for that connection. Steering, feel, and feedback and fun. The Model Y made me realize Tesla isn't looking for that anymore. Like and subscribe. This one's complicated. All right, so Tesla Model Y. Let's talk about driving, and driving enjoyment in particular. How much fun is it to drive? It's not. So what they could have done better is they could have done a better job with suspension tuning on this, making this more pliable on rougher roads and making this more enjoyable when you're going hard. They wouldn't have to do an adaptive suspension or anything like that. They could have just done slightly better dampers. The accelerator on this is actually really well modulated. I'm impressed. It's got fantastic feel. It's got great pushback, so I have just enough push to feel like I can be confident in it. And it does a really good job at making me feel like, okay, I know exactly the range of what this can do. I'm not pushing it here right now because, again, temperature is 33 and falling and snow, so I don't really want to go ripping too hard. But I will say that it does some things on the performance side well enough. This doesn't have the same degree of like kind of point and shoot. Like this doesn't have that ability for me to turn in and decide to point like, I want to go over here and to know like the car is going there. It lacks that ability in a way that it just, I can't quite figure out exactly how much lock I need to put in to go through a turn. This, I always feel like I'm not putting enough in, and maybe part of it's the resistance that the wheel is pushing back at me in a way, but it just, the initial turn in is just not intuitive. Like every time I'm turning this, I feel like I don't actually know that I've done enough. And that means that when I want to go push it a little bit, I'm a little afraid. I'm like, okay, am I going to go through the turn? Do I have enough lock? Am I going to get to the apex of this very cleanly, or do I need to put more in? And so I kind of end up adjusting partway through a turn because I'm just not really sure. So that's a challenge with it. It just doesn't give me that confidence. So there's some things in this that I'm kind of like, yeah, I can't feel it. And the suspension in this, it has its problems. So the end result is if I'm out here kind of pushing, I'm going to crash over bumps, but I don't know what's happening, if that makes sense. One of the problems that I have with the suspension is it gets upset. It'll go over something, it'll pop over it. That's like one thing, but that's not communication from the chassis. It's not telling me what's happening. It's effects. It's the after effects of what's happening. So as I'm driving this up the hill now, like let's go give it a little bit of the beans here for a sec. I'm going to go push it up here and see what goes on. I can't tell what the road is. I can't feel the surface in a way. I feel disconnected. When I hit a bump, I'm like slammed, but I'm not getting information through. And that's a really interesting distinction. And I know a lot of people that are not as much of performance drivers, it's gonna seem like, well, does that really matter? It actually does when you want to really enjoy a car, because the car needs to give you feedback. It needs to help you sense something about what's happening. But the regular Model Y, what it really lacks is that feeling of connectedness to the road. I don't know where the wheels are. I don't know what the road is or the surface. I can't tell the traction until like I'm on hydroplaning. And the steering, again, I don't know how much is there. And I've had this car for days. I've been driving it a lot. And I'm just not able to tell exactly how much is needed. So let's talk charging for a minute. I'd say this is the shortest charging segment of any of my videos because what else is there to say? It's a Tesla and a supercharger access, and that's all that it needs. So while I'm at it up here, I want to talk to you about regen. And something that still I find kind of weird for a Tesla. Regen. What regen? This has, I think, the weakest one-pedal driving of any EV I've been behind the wheel of so far. I kind of can't even believe I'm saying that. Like, really? But it's terrible. I have used the brake pedal so much in this car, and I have, yes, I know, I have it set to max, but it still doesn't do it. Any kind of downslope, and that's the thing that I find really interesting. And I'm kind of shocked by just how poor it does. I'm just like, really? Like, Tesla, come on. You guys are the creators of one-pedal driving. Why is it so bad? And that's one I just don't understand, y'all. So previously, I would have said, despite the terrible, terrible suspension on the older Model 3, it was fun to drive, especially the older Model 3 performance, or the high-end Model 3. So you could have fun with that car. It was definitely enjoyable. It's not that. I think that's because Tesla knows who its market is for this. Their market with this car is people that buy RAV4s. People don't buy RAV4s to have a super sporty, fun go car. They drive it because it's a RAV4 and it's a Toyota, and it will look a bit nice, it will have nice features, and it will get them there, and generally that's the point of it. Other things about this too, just getting you there, yeah, it'll do it. It'll do it comfortably. It's got decent range at 300 miles or so, and it will get you that range. It charges well, and Tesla superchargers are practically everywhere now. So it has all of the things you really need. And that means it's a very good deal for what it is. If you're going to get a car right now, if you want an EV, this is a very solid bet to go for. There are problems, though, that you need to consider with this. And some of those are challenging.
All right, everybody, I want to take a quick break to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Turo. Turo, my friend Iman, who I get cars from, also has his entire collection of EVs, like this Hummer Omega Edition, available on the platform. It's like Airbnb for cars, and it's replaced all the legacy car rental companies, at least for me, because it's so much better. You know exactly what you're getting. You can log in, you can see the reviews for every owner and vehicle, you can see photos of the car. It's easy to get it where you need. There's usually a couple of different places like airports, points of interest, and other major locations you can do your pickup and drop off. Easy to get there, pricing's transparent, super convenient, great selection. What's not to like? So check them out. Go to watchchargedup.com/Turo, and now on with the video.
So talking about the interior of this thing, I want to go through like this because there's a lot to say. And it's a lot to say because there's not much. That's the problem, actually. So, you take a look at this, it is sparse. There is really not that much in here, and I find that interesting. This is a car that, follows Tesla's ethos, which is like minimalist, but when they redid this interior, they did a lot with the materials and improved these, but then others it's nice, but it's still scratchy plastics. They put the lighting in, they did other things. So they did stuff in here that makes some areas of it feel better, but they didn't fundamentally address the just barrenness of this interior. And it doesn't have to have a ton in it. It doesn't have to have a bunch of foofy stuff or chrome or anything, but like Polestar, that's a fantastic interior that is still minimalist. This one feels barren. And it feels that way because the things that you would expect to have, that you'd expect to touch and to be able to see, aren't here. Like this, the lack of the driver cluster is ridiculous to me. The fact that aftermarket suppliers have had to make their own and people buy those, it just like that tells you they did something wrong. But at the same time, it's functional, it's usable. You're gonna get in here, it may be barren, it may be sparse, or however you feel about it, but it does have other features, like this just massive cubby down here. This, I think that in more performance versions, your phone will fly off of there, but I mean, hey, this works. The cup holders are small. Like I found it, I had to be really careful with my coffee because I pulled the lid off of this like twice, and I thankfully did not spill a drop. I would say that the seats are too small, so the bottom of the seats is too narrow, and I'm kind of squished. You can have a thing where some seats are, say, too wide. Like the Cadillac Lyriq felt like I was sitting on a bench. This feels like I'm sitting in a narrow seat from like elementary school. Back seats in this, I've got the seat where I sit because I want to have that as comparison. Back seat in here is decent. I got the room here, I can sit here, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna go on a trip, I'm gonna be all right. My head though does hit back here. Again, 6'3", I kind of bonk, and even like other people I've had back here hit their head on the back of this. So this is still, it's not optimal, but it's not any deal breaker, it's not an issue in here. So it does fine. And these seats overall, the legroom is good. I got plenty of space to put my feet in here. So there's all the room necessary. I may be a little cramped. Again, like I've got kind of my knees are up against this, but I'm not super uncomfortable. And a driver could move forward a few inches and it would probably be just fine. So let's go to cargo space. Cargo space on this, I mean, it's good. You know, you got room back here, it pops open, you can pop the seats down. You can adjust the backs, by the way. I will note that that can help with your head kind of bonking back there, but it's nothing too crazy. There is a little bit of underfloor under here, well, actually a good bit. So there's plenty of room back here. I mean, again, like, it's good. There's a reason why this is the best-selling car right now, because it does a lot of these things very, very well. So let's talk software-defined vehicle and software as a competitive advantage in the market. One of the things that Tesla did that really set them apart and gave them a huge lead for so long was the fact that the software itself in the car is a core component of their competitive advantage. And that lead has been there for a while. And the volume of cars on the road have given them an ability to optimize the software and bring to market features like supervised FSD that pretty much nobody else can match right now. So the end result of that is you have a car that's very, very capable and has so much to it, but also has, in my opinion, an over-reliance on software. A lot of the things that I would want to interact with in the car are behind this glass. And it makes it hard when I want to access something because I have to go searching, I have to go hunting, and it's not intuitive. And that comes down to really what is important in the experience to Tesla. So one of the reasons why I say this is a car that is not for people who like to drive or really want to drive is because the software itself is in conflict with that. When you have physical buttons are tied to a function generally, unless you want to try and put a little screen in there to change the functionality of the buttons, but then why are you doing that? So you have a situation where, because software is so central to the value and advantage of the car, it really doesn't make any sense for them to prioritize buttons because buttons themselves are a limiting factor. So why? Why focus on this? Well, because it was an advantage for a long time because they were able to improve the experience of using the vehicle so much, so fast in such a short period of time that it was incredibly hard for anyone to catch up to that. But you do the opposite now, where people want buttons. People are like, hey, I don't want to have to go tapping away to try and find it, and I don't want to look away from the road to do it because that's not safe. They think about that. They want to be able to access it. They want to be able to reach over and do something, do the volume, do whatever. Well, there's some buttons here, it's not enough. It's not enough navigation or accessibility through the buttons that I'm still forced to go over here to do so much. And that's because this is a car that's rapidly becoming something not intended to be driven. I ask Model Y and Model 3 owners in the comments here, anyone with FSD, how much do you actually drive the car anymore? This is a car made for a person that driving is a chore and they don't want to. And the experience reflects that. Because when you have that, then you can have a center screen over here that you can look away, you can do this stuff, you can put it all behind here because you can dedicate the mental energy to it and you're not trying to split your attention with the road. So the camera system has some issues. And I'll be frank with this, that the camera system does a pretty terrible job. And I'm going to back in the spot just because I want to prove a point. Let me just go in here and I will show you. Because there's no surround view cameras, it's assuming it's using image sensors to try and tell me exactly what is around me. And look at how as I'm moving, is that car actually there or what? Like, it's really, really challenging to get into a parking spot on this because it doesn't do a good job of actually understanding where the spot is, which for a car that can self-drive its way into a parking spot, I'm really surprised by. And then I'm also going to point out too that notice how it shows the two different cameras kind of like next to each other. Really unintuitive. I don't have a sense for exactly where I am on the spot. The lines that are showing here, again, through this system, I just don't know. And so I'm relying on my mirrors a lot more. I'm using those to tell where I am. And as a result, the sensors are really not helping. And on top of that, the sensors are kind of terrible because there's no sensors. There's the cameras, and the cameras, like this camera is so high up, I don't actually know. Like, I can't even tell. I feel like I'm sticking way out of the parking spot Yet in the end, I'm a long ways out. I'm so far out, I'm not even close to the back of this. So what am I doing? And so it does a really terrible job telling me to stop, but I'm not even close to the back of this. So not a great experience when parking. So who's this car made for at the end? Well, this car is not made for people that really love to drive. This is not a driver's car, and absolutely would not recommend this for somebody who really wants a great driving experience. It's just not that. This is not an experience designed around driving. This is an experience around being driven in. And so if you deleted the steering wheel and the pedals, would this be a better car? Yes. Yes, it would be, because that's not important to you. When you intend to drive the car, the world around you and your interaction with that world is the critical point. And you are not there to experience the road. You are there to experience being taken somewhere. And this car is that. It is an experience to be taken in. And as a result, that's a turnoff to me and to a lot of other people. But at the same time, with the way things are going, that may prove to be a huge advantage for Tesla. We'll have to see. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Appreciate you all. I will catch you in the next one. Got a ton of videos coming down the pike. Like and subscribe, and leave a comment too. I try to respond to everybody that I can, and I really appreciate you all joining me on the journey. See you in the next one.